understanding how we are and what our strengths are and what we need to work on. And so it just depends on how you look at it. And so if you can come into it with a positive paradigm, then it can be very useful and very productive. So, the Enneagram is made up of 9 types, and these 9 types are different sort of personality types, different ways of being, and each of us would fall into one of these types. Okay, and usually what we have is a dominant type, and then a wing type that's kind of like a subtype. Okay, and so I'm going to describe the 9 types. There are assessments and ways to sort of find out what type you are online. So you can go do a Google search for Enneagram assessments and find out what type you are, and then you can find out, it'll let you know what type you are, and then we can come back here, and it can, this will mean a lot more. So type 1, the reformer. This is the principled, idealistic type. Ones are ethical and conscientious, with a strong sense of right and wrong. They are teachers and crusaders, always striving to improve things but afraid of making mistakes. Well organized, orderly, and fastidious. They try to maintain high standards are self-revealing, emotionally honest, and personal, but they can also be moody and self-conscious, without withholding themselves from others due to feeling vulnerable and defective. They can also feel disdainful and exempt from ordinary ways of living. They typically have problems with self-indulgence and self-pity. At their best, healthy fours are inspired and highly creative, able to renew themselves and transform their experiences. Type 5, the investigator. The intense cerebral type. 5s are alert, insightful, and curious. They are able to concentrate and focus on developing complex ideas and skills. Independent and innovative, they can become preoccupied with their thoughts and imaginary constructs. They become detached yet highly strung and intense. They typically have problems with isolation, eccentricity, and nihilism. At their best, healthy 5s are visionary pioneers, often ahead of their time, and able to see the world in an entirely new way. Type 6, the loyalist. The committed, security-oriented type. 6s are reliable, hardworking, and responsible, but they can also be defensive, evasive, and highly anxious, running on stress while complaining about it. They are often cautious and decisive, but can be reactive, defiant, and rebellious. They typically have problems with self-doubt and suspicion. At their best, healthy 6s are internally stable, self-confident, and self-reliant, courageously supporting the weak and powerless. Type 7, the enthusiast. The busy, productive type. 7s are versatile, optimistic, and spontaneous. Playful, high-spirited, and practical, they can also be overextended, scattered, and undisciplined. They constantly seek new and exciting experiences, but they can become distracted and exhausted by staying on the go. They typically have problems with superficiality and impulsiveness. At their best, healthy 7s focus their talents on worthwhile goals, becoming joyous, highly accomplished, and full of gratitude. Type 8, the challenger. The powerful, dominating type. 8s are self-confident, strong, and assertive. Protective, resourceful, and decisive, they can be proud and domineering. 8s feel that they must control their environment, often becoming confrontational and intimidating. They typically have problems with allowing themselves to be close to others. At their best, 8s are self-mastering. They use their strength to improve others' lives, becoming heroic, magnanimous, and sometimes historically great. And type 9, the peacemaker. The easygoing, self-effacing type. 9s are accepting, trusting, and stable. They are good-natured, kind-hearted, easygoing, and supportive, but they can also be too willing to go along with others to keep the peace. They want everything to be without conflict, but can tend to be complacent It's not okay to have your own needs. They will take care of others every day and twice on Sunday, but they will not acknowledge their own needs. They will not have their own needs. They will efface themselves every day and put themselves on the back burner all the time, taking care of their kids, their spouse, their parents, everyone else, the community, the school, the neighbors, everybody else, but they will not take care of themselves. Type 3. It's not okay to have your own feelings and identity. They basically talk about how important it is to be successful and to have success and to have good careers and to be to have fame and fortune, but they will not talk about feelings. Type 4. It's not okay to be too functional or too happy. That's a sign somehow of being superficial or being fake. Yeah, so it's not okay to be too functional or too happy. Type 5. It's not okay to be comfortable in the world. It's not okay to be comfortable in the world. Type 6. It's not okay to trust yourself. Yeah, it's not okay to trust yourself. Type 7. It's not okay to trust anyone for anything. People are basically untrustworthy. You can't trust others. Type 8. It's not okay to be vulnerable or trust anyone. Being vulnerable is dangerous. You can't be vulnerable. And type 9. It's not okay to assert yourself. Right? Don't make waves. Don't rock the boat. And then the basic fears of the types. So then each type has its basic kind of core fear. For type 1, the fears of being bad, corrupt, evil, or defective. Okay. For type 2, it's the fear of being unworthy or being unworthy of being loved. Yeah. That you're not worthy of being loved, and so you have to do all the time to kind of prove that you're worthy of being loved. You do everything that you do is to show how worthy you are and how important you are so that people will love you, because sort of intrinsically, inherently, you're not sure that you're worthy. Type 3 is the fear of being worthless or without inherent value. Fear of being worthless or without value. So you have to prove your value through success. 4. Type 4 is the fear of being without identity or personal significance. Yeah. The idea that you're not necessarily very important, that you don't really have much value. You don't really have much significance in the world. The fear of the 5s is the fear of being useless, incapable, or incompetent. Fear of being sustain that image of well-being, like to sustain their image of well-being, they tend to gravitate towards things like being reasonable, sensible, being objective, moderate, prudent, good, and rational. That's the sort of purview of the ones. Okay. Now for twos, it's feelings for and about others and how others respond to them. What do they resist? They resist feelings, recognizing their own feelings and what they need. Okay? So they will focus on other people and not, they resist recognizing their own needs. And to sustain feelings of well-being, they will focus on things like being loving and caring, thoughtful, warm-hearted, concerned, kind, and compassionate. That's their area of focus. Selflessness. Oh, that's a big one for twos. Being selfless. Threes. That's a self-image developed in response to what they perceive as admiration by others. So, admiration from others is what they yearn for. They resist recognizing feelings of emptiness or their own self-rejection. So they work hard to resist feelings of emptiness. They work really hard not to spend time in quiet reflection where they might recognize that the success that they have earned is empty. They don't want to go there. They don't want to think about the fact that the material things that they have might not be enough for happiness. That makes them extremely uncomfortable. They focus on words or things like admirable, desirable, attractive, outstanding, well-adjusted, effective, having unlimited potential. Those are all things that that's the area they would focus on. They like that. Alright, for fours, the feelings of otherness, of being flawed and with emotional reactions. They like the idea of being outsiders, of being somehow flawed, of being somehow outside the norm. They resist recognizing positive qualities in themselves and being like others. They don't want to be like others. They like being quirky and weird and unusual and outside the norm. The words that kind of that resonate with them would be things like sensitive, different, unique, self-aware, gentle, intuitive, quiet, or deep. Those would be the words of the four. For fives, it's a sense of being detached, an outside observer of the world, but not necessarily part of it. They resist recognizing physical presence and state feelings and needs, so they tend to stay very much outside of the world and not get too deeply into it. They tend to resist feeling the feelings or getting too involved in the world. They would rather be outside observers. And the words that speak to them would be perceptive, smart, curious, self-contained, insightful, objective, alert. Those are the words of the five. For sixes, it's the need to respond and react to inner anxiety about a perceived lack of support. Yeah. Resists recognizing support and own inner guidance. So they basically believe that they're not given enough support and that they focus on the anxiety that creates. And they don't recognize the support that is around them, and they don't recognize their own ability to are strong, assertive, direct, resourceful, action-oriented, tenacious, robust, and independent. And 9. Sense of inner stability